Techhnolyze is not your usual anime. It's dark, cryptic, and brutally philosophical. A city in decay, factions in chaos, and a future that seems inevitable. But who is really pulling the strings? Why does Ran keep guiding the protagonist, Ichise, with flowers? And what is the real purpose of the Obelisk, this strange tower that links every technologized human like a digital soul? In today's video, we'll dive deep into the disturbing world of Techhnolyze, breaking down its complex plot, exploring its characters, and most importantly, understanding the hidden meaning behind this dystopian masterpiece. So let's begin. The story begins with Ichise, an orphan, a stoic, and a silent prize fighter. In the very first episode, Ichise loses his right arm and left leg as punishment after an encounter with a prostitute whom he violently pushes away. Her employer, Ida, enraged by this, orders Ishii, a member of the Organo Syndicate, to punish him. Ishii then severs Ichise's right arm and left leg as punishment. Ichise then wanders the city with the help of a stick, bleeding and on the brink of death. He is eventually discovered by Doc, a rogue scientist who decides to save him through technologization. She has two reasons for this. First, she is impressed by Ichise's strong will to survive, and second, she wants to test her most advanced technologization prototype on him. She also integrates cells from a vial Ichise always carried with him, a memento of his mother which contains her cells, into his new prosthetic limbs. Despite being saved, Ichise initially rejects his new limbs. He is hostile toward Doc and the help he receives. Refusing to accept his artificial body parts, after escaping from her lab, he struggles to move. His limbs are not fully attached and cause him pain. He eventually confronts Ishii, the man who mutilated him, but is defeated and thrown into a sewer. In the darkness of the sewer, Ichise struggles to find a way out and then stumbles upon a trail of flowers. Following them, he finds his way out. But who left them? It was Ran. In that scene, and consistently throughout the series, Ran places flowers in Ichise's path, guiding him. So, who is Ran, and why does she guide Ichise? Ran is a young girl from Gabe, a neighboring settlement to Lux. She serves as a seer with the ability to glimpse into the future, often seen wearing a white fox mask and selling orchids. Ran's foresight is both a gift and a burden. She can witness tragic events but cannot change them. She is quiet, enigmatic, and deeply influential, playing a pivotal role in the fate of Lux. Gabe is a spiritual community very different from the violent, power driven factions of Lux, known for producing seers like Ran. Gabe's people are reserved and mystical, often serving as observers or guides rather than participants. Ran's presence in Lux represents Gabe's attempt to influence or warn the city about its destructive path. She symbolically embodies the merged psyche of technologized citizens, functioning as a digital soul of Lux. She acts as the city's spiritual and prophetic observer, deeply aware of its fate and cycles of suffering. Symbolically, Ran represents theoria, a philosophical concept of contemplative awareness or insight, sometimes described as the eye of the soul. She is essentially the city's all seeing eye and can communicate with anyone from anywhere, functioning as an oracle. Like classical oracles, she sees tragic clarity yet remains removed from direct action. Ran is also connected to the obelisk, but we'll talk about it at the end of the video. Now, as for why she constantly guides Ichise with flowers, it's because she sees the future and understands what must happen. She guides key characters like Ichise and Yoshii to fulfill their roles. Ichise will eventually be the last to survive, and Yoshii, who comes from the surface, also plays a vital role. Ran ensures they are in the right places for the future to unfold. And after emerging from the sewer, Ichise confronts Ishii once again, and this time kills him. He later joins the Organo Syndicate, gradually developing a sense of duty and responsibility. This marks a major shift from his earlier, more aimless and violent existence. A large part of this transformation is influenced by Onishi, the leader of Organo, who becomes a mentor figure to Ichise. This environment encourages Ichise to take on responsibilities and act with more intention, reflecting his slow but real growth under Onishi's guidance. And now Yoshii comes into the picture, who has come from the surface world. He systematically manipulates Lux factions to fight against each other and escalate chaos. The reason why he did it is because the world where he comes from, the above surface, it has descended into deep nihilism and apathy. Its people have achieved technological immortality but have lost all will, purpose, and emotional vitality, essentially giving up on truly living. Yoshi, who comes from this emotionally sterile surface, is driven by a desire to witness genuine raw human emotions and chaos, things missing from his world. He manipulates Lux factions into conflict, seeking a spectacle of real passion, struggle, and destruction, in stark contrast to the lifeless monotony above. Later, Yoshii is killed by Tatsuya Sakimura. Next comes Kano. So, who is he and how did he destroy Lux? Kano is the leader of the class, a secretive elite group living in the hills. He is a product of generations of selective inbreeding, brilliant but psychologically unstable. The class was established by the surface world as a part of an experiment. Lux was meant to be a testing ground for technologization and human evolution, particularly using the raffia material to fuel advancements. Then there's Doc, who operates independently within Lux, creating her own technologized prototypes using raffia. Unlike the class, Doc believes technologization should empower individuals. As in one scene, she asked Ichise to hug her tightly and stated this is what her technologized limbs mean. Her emotional approach contrasts with the class's cold utilitarianism. Later, she went to the hill to meet the class and propose her idea of technologization, but the class targets her instead for defying their vision of technologization as a tool for control. But Ichise saves her. Kano then descends into the city and begins abducting members of every faction, converting them into full body cyborgs called shapes. His goal is to forcibly evolve humanity by erasing individuality and emotion. Kano believes that by removing human violence and emotion through technologization, he can end suffering and create a perfected immortal society. Kano plans to send his ships to conquer the surface, defying its dominance. The three others, representatives of the surface, urge Onishi and Shinji to warn the surface world, fearing his actions would disrupt their control over Lux. Onishi sends Doc and Ichise to the surface with Sakimura's help, and upon reaching, they found out that the surface world has descended into deep nihilism and apathy. Its people have achieved technological immortality but have lost all will, purpose, and emotional vitality, essentially giving up on truly living. They find an empty chair symbolizing the absence of leadership, guidance, or even the desire to intervene. The surface dwellers have relinquished all responsibility and hope, choosing passivity over engagement. This revelation devastates Doc. She had believed technologization could restore humanity, but upon seeing the surface, she discovers its inhabitants had lost all will to live, existing as hollow shells maintained by technology. Doc realized her work had no impact, neither the class valued it, nor the surface had the will to embrace it. She felt there's no point in living anymore and committed suicide. But Ichise continues to live. As Doc once said, he has a powerful will to survive and he proves it. Returning to Lux, he finds the city in ruins. Dead bodies lie everywhere. His own prosthetics stop functioning. Then he sees Onishi in front of the obelisk, communicating with Ran. Onishi destroys the obelisk and is killed by goons behind. So, what happened? This is the part which confuses a lot of people. So, let me explain. Ran is connected to the obelisk. The obelisk acts as a primary energy hub for technologized limbs and the city's infrastructure. It manages the biochain network, linking all technologized individuals, enabling data exchange and control over their prosthetics. The obelisk connects all technologized individuals, allowing it to transmit data, voice, and sensory input directly into their consciousness via their prosthetics. The obelisk tech allows Ran's consciousness to audibly communicate with technologized individuals, mimicking divine guidance. It also broadcasts the voice of the city and influences those connected to it. And she uses the obelisk to broadcast the message to any individual she wants. Now, the obvious question comes that how she does it. So, it's very simple. The three mothers programmed the obelisk to broadcast messages as the voice of the city. They positioned Ran as the spiritual figurehead to legitimize this control. By framing Ran as the voice of the city, the three mothers created a spiritual figurehead to legitimize their rule. Ran prophecies broadcast via the obelisk give the illusion of divine sanction, making their control seem inevitable or drained. As for why Ran did it, she likely saw herself as a genuine guide for Lux's future. All of it was part of the future she had foreseen. As mentioned earlier, she simply acts according to what is meant to happen. Guiding figures like Ichise Yoshii becoming the spiritual figurehead was also part of moving forward within that predestined reality. In the end, Kano then merges Ran's consciousness with the obelisk and begins broadcasting his own voice, corrupting her role. He paralyzes technologized individuals using a device that jams their system and projects hallucinations. As we saw earlier, that Kano uses a handheld device to paralyze Onishi and other technologized individuals, jamming their systems. He uses the same technology here. Ran then asks Onishi to destroy the obelisk, which is now symbolically and literally represents Ran's consciousness. That's why blood starts to pour as he destroys it, because it means that not only Obelisk is destroyed, but Ran's consciousness, the voice of the city, is also gone. This physically kills Ran's consciousness and immobilizes Kano's shapes and also stops the working of the Texhnolyzed limbs permanently. But Ichise's limbs begin working again. Why? Because he finally accepts them as part of himself. Earlier, Ichise rejected his prosthetics, but by the end, he embraces them. This unity of mind and body allows them to function even without external power. It was Doc's design and Ichise's will that made this possible, though she didn't live to see it. After Obelisk's destruction, the remaining shapes become permanently rooted to the ground, their organs kept alive by failing life support systems, artificial lights in Lux dim, plunging the city into darkness as infrastructure collapses, and leaving humanity to extinct. Ichise finds Kano and demands to see Ran. Kano reveals that he has turned her corpse into a grotesque shape, erasing her identity. This enrages Ichise, who then kills Kano. In the final moments, Ichise succumbs to his injuries in the ruins of Lux's opera house. His limbs fail, the city darkens, and he leans against a pillar. With his last remaining energy, he projects a flower, his final act. He smiles faintly, then silently dies. It's just Ichise finding something with which he could comfort himself in his final moments. His life is over, everything is over, but there's one final moment of peace before the end. That's what it symbolizes. He fades into darkness, just like the city, and here the show ends. So, in the end, Technolyze isn't just about cybernetic limbs or dystopian cities, it's about the human condition, our struggle for meaning in a world falling apart. Ran saw the future, but she never tried to stop it. She simply guided those who mattered toward their fate. And Ichise represents the last spark of human will, refusing to give up, even when everything else has. If you are into such existential animes and have seen Monster and are confused related to its ending, then you can check out this video where I've explained its ending in detail. Just click on the video flashing in the screen. Thanks for watching.